Hello again, my dudes. This is Kadima back with another build video for Elden Ring DLC Shadow of the Earth Tree. And in this build video we'll be using what I believe to be quite an underrated weapon, Freyja's Greatsword. Now, to use this weapon, and the idea behind this weapon is going to be tanky and hit hard. This weapon does not have the highest attack rate, even when you go full strength, um, but combining a couple of things, it does make up for it. The damage is actually quite good. You'll be killing people in the arena with 3 hits. For bosses, you can destroy them with 2 hits, sometimes 3. And I'm going to give those examples, of course, later on in the video. But let me start by thanking all of my new subscribers. I also do appreciate if you guys could subscribe to the channel. It truly helps the channel grow, and I'll be very grateful for it. Let's talk about the equipment. I'm using Freyja's Great Sword, but I have changed the scaling to heavy because it gives us a strength scaling of A. To do that, I'm using the Savage Lion's Claw, Ashes of War. Now, I want to point out 2 things about this weapon. If you read the description of the weapon, it reads, "The spirit of Freyja's training lingers in this sword, enhancing the power of Redmane battle skills." Now, this means that whenever you use a Redmane skill, something that is related to Redmanes, it will have enhanced power. And lucky for us, the Savage Lion's Claw, if you read the description of the Ashes of War, it reads skill of the particularly brave, even amongst the Redmanes. So this counts as a Redmane ability. So this is the perfect ability to use on this weapon. Now, the weapon itself, with 80 strength and a scaling of A, will have an attack rate of 795 when two-handed. It's not the highest out there, but with a little bit of item usage, you can boost it up to 1000 more than that as well. The shield itself, the shield is actually quite amazing. It has a guard damage negation of 100% for physical. For the elementals, it's not that great. It's got somewhere between 41 and 49 for the different damage types. The guard boost is only 55, but considering it only requires 11 strength to use, and it's a medium shield, it's actually quite good. The ability of the shield is actually quite useful as well, the Roaring Bash. It doesn't do a tremendous amount of damage. The attack rate of the shield, as you can see on the right side of the screen, is 390, but what it does is that it does launch us forward a little bit, and this is actually quite good for roll catching. The more you charge it, the higher. If you just tap it, it's a small one. If you charge it, it's a slightly bigger impact. You can't really tell much of a difference, but it's slightly better. The weapon itself, the R1s are actually quite good. It's a curved great sword. It's an amazing weapon for all purposes, for both PvP and PvE. The R1s, it's a nice heavy slash, and when two-handed, it's a nice heavy slash side to side as well. The R1s are quite fast, considering this is a great sword, but the curved great sword has a slightly better speed when it comes to hits. The running R1s slash, the running R2 opposite side slash, the jumping R1 another slash, the jumping R2, it's the only one that is a smash. Now, let's talk about the rest of the gear. I'm using the Helm of Solitude, Armor of Solitude, Gauntlets of Solitude, and the Young Lion's Greaves. As per different videos I have made in the past, this gives us a poise of 88, which is the sweet spot you want to be, so you can trade hits with other people, you can sustain R1s and roll out of the second R1 by having 88 poise. In order to use all of this, of course, talismans, I'm using the Great Jar's Arsenal because we need to get that equip load nice and high. The Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman because we are going to have to be tanky to be able to trade hits with our opponents and with our enemies in PvE and be able to sustain the damage while dishing out damage without having to worry so much about having to roll back and heal. You should be good to go. To boost our damage a little bit, we are using the two-handed sword talisman. and we are using the Shard of Alexander. Now, talking about the Ashes of War, this weapon, what it does a front attack followed by another lunging attack. These things, because they count as red main skills, have increased damage. Now, to boost our damage even further, in terms of items, I strongly suggest using the Exalted Flesh and the Mersmeyer Grease, just for the thematic fire of the red mains. You can also use Uplifting Aromatics to boost it even further. So if you combine all of these with the boosted aromatic and you look at the stats, we now have 1169 attack rate. This is a nice attack rate, considering we are in the round table, so we don't get the Shadow Tree boosts, the Shadow Tree blessing boosts in here. But if you want to take things even further, the aromatic doesn't last that long, the buff itself doesn't last very long. But if you want to take things a step further, what you can do is you use Exalted Flesh, you use Mersmeyer's Fire, you use the Uplifting Aromatic, and then you use the Flask of Wondrous Physique, which in this case, everything combined gives us a respectable 1403 attack rate. The physique I'm using, as in previous build videos, I'm using the Blood-Sucking Crag tier, which temporarily increases attack power but drains 1% HP per second, and the Stone Grab Crag tier, which temporarily makes stance breaking easier. And that's pretty much the build, guys. Let's go on to the typical examples of killing the Black Knight and the Blood Chief, followed by some PvP examples of how well this build actually performed. I was quite surprised. I underestimated the weapon. I had tried it before, I wasn't very happy, but with the right Ashes of War, which is, for this weapon, I would strongly recommend using the Savage Lion's Claw. I would say this is a very, very reliable weapon, and it's very fun to use. Now let's start with the Black Knight. As usual, my Mimic, who is very trustworthy, is already here. We use the Uplifting Aromatic, Exalted Flesh. I forgot to equip the Flask. Now I do. Let's put the fire on the weapon. And then once we get close enough, Flask, and we boost our damage massively. And then all you have to do is worry about using those Ashes of War. 4,000 damage, 8,000 damage with the follow-up. And the boss is pretty much already dead, because me and the Mimic, we just annihilated this guy. Now for the Blood Chief, again, summoning the Mimic. I like to have this guy around so I can buff in peace, heal myself, try to dodge these initial hits, because she doesn't like when you first come in here. I actually got hit while I was consuming the Exalted Flesh. Not a problem. Let's use the fire. And then let's just swap for the Flask. And now I want you to take notice of how much damage each Ashes of War does. 9,000 combined for 15,000. So 2 Ashes of War attacks and this boss was dead. GG. Now let's go for the PvP and the arena examples. I didn't have the patience to use this for invasions. I actually just wanted to get some nice duels with this build. Now, using the weapon with Exalted Flesh, buffing it with the Grease for the fire. This guy, which was the last one I fought when doing the build video, he was using the backhand blades, and as everybody that I ever fought using this weapon, they tend to fight very passively and just try to get you with a blind spot. And as you can see, that's pretty much what he's trying to do. He's waiting for me to attack him so he can dodge and punish me with a blind spot. Because of my experience fighting this weapon, I already know that the best way to go for it is to try to fool them into making mistakes. And if they start making mistakes, that's when you punish them. So as you can see, he's still going for the constant R1 to blind spots, but he didn't far enough from me that he was in a safe position. And with this weapon, I actually only need to hit him once twice, 3 times, he's dead. He decided to swap to the meteoric or Greatsword, which again I have also made a build video using this weapon, so I kind of know what to wait for. Unfortunately, a lot of these people, I don't know if it's the lack of experience, is they tend to just spam the Ashes of War, and as you've seen, that's all this guy is doing. He's just spamming the Ashes of War. This makes it very easy to win, extremely easy. Now, for this next one, don't forget the Exalted Flesh, Mesmer's Fire Grease, and then we're good to go. When you buff with these two things, you have around 1000 attack rate with this great sword, which is quite good because that's what allows us to kill pretty much anyone with 3 hits in the arena. Each hit does around 700 damage, as you can see, 660 with a simple R1. That was just a standing R1, so it's quite a good amount of damage considering that this weapon actually hits faster than the usual great swords. It has a nice weapon range as well. I tried to go for the Ashes of War here. Unfortunately, if you are too far, it's quite easy to dodge. If you actually use it right next to your opponent, the initial movement of the Ashes of War staggers the opponents if they are close enough. So it's actually good to keep that in mind. Again, I was just trying to get him to make a mistake so I could get the roll catch punishment going, and this is when he's about to make that mistake. I'm being outspaced, and then I trade and I waited for the roll catching, and this is the mistake. He tried to trade with me when I've got way more hyper armor with this weapon with 88 poise. Now for this one, funny enough, the guy immediately started casting miracles. I've got no problem, but it's just funny that this guy's idea was to just stand there next to where his healing tree is. If you look on the floor, there's the herd tree thing that gives you the heals. So he just wanted to stay there, and as you can see, I haven't hit this guy a single time, but then I do for 850 damage because he has no armor. And then he decides to come for the trades, which is good for me because I can trade all day with this weapon, and then he makes the mistake of still trying to trade. GG. Now again, good fight, we both buff, fair play, not a problem. Let's go. Exalted Flesh, fire for the extra damage. This guy is actually trying to play without the target lock, which is fair enough. I am very unfamiliar with his weapon. I haven't come across a lot of people using this stuff, but as you can see, a simple R1 was 530 damage, even though he does have the buffed damage negation. So if it wasn't for the damage negation, that hit would have been plus 650 guaranteed. Now trying to get some movements going, trying to see what he's up to. It's hard to read when the people are playing off lock target. It's really hard to tell what their next move is. Again, I'm happy to trade. I tend to have a lot more poise. He actually managed to hit me there, so he had the upper hand. But in this case, it's my turn to punish, and then I'll go for the roll catching. And the roll catching works beautifully in my favor there. We were now head to head. Whoever hits first wins. So we are kind of trying to be careful, and I managed to outspace him with a weird hitbox R1 with a running attack. Now this guy, I actually fought this guy twice in a row, and both fights were funny because he's using the dragon stuff, which is fine. I don't recommend that much in the arena because there's a lot of space you can run to the side, and he was using the new guard technique, but he's got no armor, so that simple running R1 did nearly 900 damage. And then I decided it's time to use the shield, and just the shield is doing 400 damage, which is insane. I decided I'm gonna finish this guy with a shield, so I'm just outspacing him, forcing him to use his stamina and dashing some R1s, and then he goes full rampage on me, So I go, okay, let's trade. Let's trade one more time. 400 damage to the face with the shield. GG. Again, same guy as I just explained, but this time I decided I'm not gonna go with the shield again. I'm gonna try to land the Ashes of War, because he tends to swing quite a lot. He tends to go for 2-3 swings in a row, and if he does that, he will expose himself to my Ashes of War, and if my Ashes of War hits, it's more than 1000 damage. As you see, another running R1 was nearly 900 damage for a single running R1. Yes, he does have no armor. It makes a difference because he's got no damage negation, but the beauty of this thing is that when the Ashes of War hit, it's just an amazing amount of damage. As you can see, he's spamming the R1, and I go, okay, Ashes of War for the win. Savage Lion, claw to the face. GG. Now, this fight was actually a bit longer than I expected, but again, it's another guy using the backhand, and pretty much everyone that uses the backhand does exactly the same thing. Running R1s or spamming blind spots. So again, I have also made a build using the backhand, so I'm quite familiar with the moveset of the weapon and what's the most effective way to use it. Unfortunately, most people tend to just spam the same thing over and over again. So when I realized he was going to go running attacks, some people decide to spam jumping attacks instead of running attacks, because the combinations with the backhand tend to be running R1s to blind spot or jumping R1s to blind spot. But here, as you can see, I'm outspacing him quite well. He's not really knowing what to do because he knows if he comes for the trade, he will get hit because I will hyper armor through his hits. He of course decides to go cheesy mode and use the shield. I've got nothing against it. I have learned how to dodge that thing a long time ago. He decides to come for the trades and use the blind spot spamming as you just saw. And he still didn't manage to hit me much except for the trade. Again, blind spot, running R1s, charged R2. Again, I'm outspacing this guy quite well. It's quite easy to do with a curved Greatsword, to be honest, but as you just saw, that one running R1, 787 damage. He's holding to dear life by a thread, and as you can see, if he was playing passively before and just trying to get the running R1s to hit, he's going to do that even more now. He swapped to another backhand, and as you expected, the swap backhand was for the Swift Slash. I mean, it's just funny that people always go to the cheesiest tactics in the arena. If whatever setup I'm using fails, backhand is the solution. Mostly is backhand with Swift Blade, sometimes is backhand with blind spot. But it's just because everybody does that, it becomes so easy to predict and so easy to counter. And then again, it's the shield. Everybody does the same thing. But it becomes easy to predict. I got him with a running R1. I am sorry that that fight took so long, but I wanted to demonstrate how certain people play in the arena. I've got nothing against it. All I'm saying is that it makes them predictable. Now, when I was using this build in the arena, this guy was the one guy that caused me more trouble. I can honestly say I was lucky to win this round. He was outspacing me, he was baiting me quite well. As you can see, he's trying to come for the R1s. I managed to land that one there. I didn't get him the chance to hyper armor through it. I do not know how that one didn't hit just before he jumped. It should have at least hit him while he was jumping, but again, it's the crazy hitboxes and the lag in the arena. And then he hit me, as you just saw, from quite far away. I did not expect that hit to connect, but again, we are trying to outspace each other, we are trying to outplay each other. He went for the crouching R1, which is again some of the cheesiest things I've seen, but again, Ashes of War, it leveled up the playing field. We are now pretty much one hit away from killing each other, and lucky for me, I got that one to connect. Now we are definitely one hit away. Whoever hits wins. I'm trying to do it in a safely way, but it's not easy with this delay. As you can see, I'm not really sure, but then boom, running R1. GG, brother. Really good fight that one was. Now, this guy, I don't know. Maybe he saw this video somewhere where cheesing people with sleeping arrows is the way to go in the arena. But as you can see, he's just backstepping. Look, backstepping to arrows. I mean, is there a more cheesy way to play this game? I don't think there is. But again, each to their own. If he wants to play it like that, that's fine. I will try to punish any way I can. But then spamming the sleeping arrows is just unfun for me. Probably fun for him. The backstep is doing his thing, and then he just spams those arrows to my face because you get kinda stun locked in the animation. So I thought, well, why not going for the shield? The shield did the job. GG. Next fight, we got a guy using the claws. Of course, with the claws, you expect the spamming of the throwing feathers, which, again, not surprised. That's exactly what's going on here. Jumping R2s, jumping R1s, spamming Ashes of War. I'm trying to ensure that every time I hit, I do a big chunk of damage. So first hit, 730 damage. He realizes that if he's going to trade with me, he's going to be on the losing side of this duel because I hit way harder than he does. So he swaps to the scythe, he then swaps to the kick, which is funny. But then he swaps back to spamming the feathers, which is fine. But then every time I hit, it just hurts him massively. So this is how good this build is, especially for PvP. It allows for good outspacing, good poise hits, good trades. You will have a slight upper hand against most people, I would say. Now, against this guy, another good duel, a quick one this time. He's using the Fire Knight Greatsword, which is another weapon that I have built around as well, so I'm quite familiar with its moveset and how the best way to use it. That one hit did 812 damage. That's just crazy. This weapon is so underrated in my opinion. Now for the running our attacks, we are trying to outspace each other. I realized he was going to try the R1, so I traded into the Ashes of War because he does give you hyper armor. Again, another fight. This guy is just using a katana, which is quite fun, but it makes it easy for me to trade against a katana because I will always do more damage than what they do. Makes it easy for me. But then I didn't realize that it wasn't just some katana, it was Millennia's sword. And I got like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. Good. Then this makes it much easier for me. If he does the Ashes of War again, he's dead, because I'm just gonna go Ashes of War and I'm gonna hyper armor through it. And there you go. He made the mistake. Hyper armor through his Millennia dancing, and I won the round. Now this is going to be another long duel, just to give you an idea of how well you can outspace people and how you can trade and win the trades most times. Again, just keep the distance. He's using quick step, which is something unusual this day and age. It has been nerfed previously because this thing used to be absolutely broken. It's still quite a good ability. It makes it harder to go for the trades, but if you time your hits right, you can always punish your opponent. Again, try to get those running R1s, but with a quick step it's quite hard because you can just dodge them. It's the trades that I have to go for. He actually managed to punish me and roll catch me there. I dodged very poorly. He tries the charged R2, then the running R1 after the quick step, then another running R1 after the quick step, and this time he did connect. I'm starting to read his moves. He does the same thing pretty much all the time. He quick steps and then he run R1s, which is fair enough. But because he's doing that thing over and over again, it becomes a little bit more predictable. I'm trying to still outspace him, and I managed to trap him into a running R1. Now for the next one, don't forget to use the Exalted Flash and the Grease if you can. This is going to be a nice little duel, a quick one. He's using a katana. Makes it easy for me to trade because as I explained in the previous video, I will win those trades. I will always do more damage than what I receive. As you can see, that's what I'm trying to go for. I'm aiming for the trades. I don't mind taking the damage because every time I hit, it's more than 600 damage. So that gives me the upper hand. He's trying to outspace me, but it's not going to work so well. I managed to fool him here. I wanted him to think that I had just failed my attack. Then he comes for the running R1, didn't hit, but then I am going to trap him into attacking me so I can trade. There you go, he's attacking me. Here he comes again, and boom, boom. The trade, I win. This is going to be another good duel, a long one I'm afraid. And to be honest, I fought this guy before I recorded this duel, and I hadn't realized I was fat rolling until it was too late. By the time I realized I was fat rolling, because I had accidentally equipped something on my left hand, I was already dead. So good thing the game gave me the chance to make up for my loss. 2 hits, 1200 damage, another one for nearly 600 damage. He's pretty much gone. I had a feeling he was gonna go with the Ashes of War, so I did it of my own as well to win the round. Now again another good deal, another good duel. I mean, this guy again, I fought him before, and he managed to outspace me with those throws. He won the round. So good thing the game gave me the chance for revenge and to try to get my win. Again, people that use these weapons tend to just spam the range of them. They tend to attack from safety so they can just hit you with arranged throws. Lucky for me, I am familiar with it, and he doesn't seem to be very familiar with my weapon and my Ashes of War, because he should have moved away from me, and he didn't. He tried to stay around, and that cost him the match. Now for the next one, it's gonna be a good one as well. This guy is using Miladies, it seems, dual Miladies, not something you see every day. I tried to go with that setup myself, but I didn't enjoy it very much. But every time I go for hit and we trade, as you can see, I'm going to win in when it comes to damage output. The only time he managed to hit me, he took a little bit of HP, but every time I hit him, it's a massive chunk of HP that goes. So all we have to do is try to go for the trades. We got a trade there, and then we finish with a roll catching. And this weapon is amazing for roll catching. Now back with this guy, I have fought him many times. I have him on different build videos. This guy is actually a good duelist. He spends quite a lot of time in the arena, and I enjoy fighting him. Now this will be the last fight, the last example. I hope you guys try this build. I truly think the weapon is underrated, especially when you combine it with this Ash of War. It's absolutely amazing. I can't thank you guys enough for the support, but I would truly appreciate if you guys could subscribe. It tremendously helps the channel. I find that a lot of people that watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would appreciate if you could help me by subscribing. Thank you anyway for watching. I hope I'll see you in the next one. This is Kadima saying goodbye. Cheerio!